the standings. Alrighty, we got this week's featured match between bobbydj and derpa of Division D3. So this is 1 and 2 in the division so far, although they both have a few matches left to play. So, actually no, Bobby just has this one. Derpa has 2 left. Currently, Derpa's leading 81% to 65%, but this could be the place that Bobby catches some ground. Let's see what we got here. Ooh. You got a lot of stuff going on, but bureaucracy tends to stop you from doing most of that stuff. You probably still get an engine going here. If you're relying on Mountain Shrine for draw, then you can just trash the coppers as they come in. It's a lot of coppers, but I think you could live with that. Derpa appears to be opening Mountain Shrine Peasant. He agrees. I suppose that's probably right. Unfortunately, Bobby sees both at turn 3. Derpa sees only the peasant. Much better outcome. Yeah, I think the city gate here produced the chance Mountain Shrine misses, or if he has to line up with the estate. And then I think probably the first 5 is going to be Hunting Lodge. For bobbydj, unfortunately, when they collide turn 3, you haven't had time to buy City Gate yet to solve the problem. If you still have 3 coppers and neither of your actions, you'd probably buy that turn 3 to help deal with the terminal collision turn 4. Probably more important to just play the peasant. And there's nothing that looks super great to buy with 4. Yeah, I think getting through this is not the most traveler-dependent kingdom of all time. Like, you got everything you need to build an engine without it. But the travelers are in general pretty significant. I think plus action might be the most important token here. There's a lot of good terminals to play, and only the 1 stack of villages. Yeah, gotta be Hunting Lodge. Also good to get the Hunting Lodge early, because... Oh, no. The village will come with 3 curses once bureaucracy's active. Yeah. So, get the Hunting Lodges while the getting's good. They'll be painful to gain later, but also a significant card that you're going to have to gain. Yeah, 1 more peasant here makes sense. Kind of unfortunate for derpa. Hunting Lodge does this thing where it draws you a card, but if you're about to pitch your hand, whatever that top card is gets pitched along with it. So you don't really want the Hunting Lodge to be the top, or the Mountain Shrine to be the top card of your deck. Derpa's just going to play the Mountain Shrine. Yeah, 1 more Hunting Lodge. Not sure what you discard here. Maybe just the Mountain Shrine? Obviously, if you pitch a copper, you could top deck the Mountain Shrine, but then you're kind of banking on seeing a copper off the top of your deck. I guess Hunting Lodge is a good enough outcome. I don't think I'd pitch here, but you do get to play both your actions. Displace. Seems alright. The silvers are decent targets for displace, so you don't really want them, but you can gain 5s off of them. I think you're for sure going to want more mountain shrines here, because it's the only thing that's going to efficiently trash the coppers. And then, plus action on mountain shrine might start to look pretty good. Bureaucracy is now active, which means passing the turn might be a realistic option. I think probably just buy one more mountain shrine, though. Maybe that depends on what's down there in those bottom 8. Is a camel train worth taking a copper? Maybe. Camel train does have the upside of if you exile a hunting lodge and then gain another hunting lodge. Firstly, you're not going to gain a silver off of that hunting lodge, the first one that gets discarded from exile, but also you don't gain coppers off of it. Alright, derpa presumably is about to hit 5, putting a copper back. And which 5 do you want? Derpa says barge. Seems defensible. It seems like bobbydj is actually quicker on the draw with these travelers, despite derpa having what seemed like the better early shuffles. I don't think you need to play the barge there. I would have very strongly considered just pitching the hand with hunting lodge. You got plenty of other terminals down there. You got another hunting lodge. I could draw back around. Interesting order, buying the mountain shrine first. Also taking a peasant. Okay. I would expect something more like hunting lodge plus mountain shrine. There are a lot of terminals in this deck. Not a great draw here for bobbydj. One more mountain shrine, probably. And we found Disciple with a target. Not a great target, unless something else shows up off of the city gate. And to delay the barge, you don't want to trigger the shuffle because you want to find that Disciple quickly. And yeah, mountain shrine looks better than Displace when your target's copper here. Peasant is okay, but peasant looks a lot better before bureaucracy's active. Still no action on the trash as of yet. Whoa, what? I don't know if I agree with that. So Bobby puts the camel train back on top, playing just the Disciple, doing nothing, so that he can have 5 money to buy a hunting lodge. So the obvious alternative play would be discipling the camel train, exiling 2 hunting lodges. The downside of that is you're not getting the hunting lodge immediately into your next shuffle, but you are getting twice as many hunting lodges with 6 fewer junk cards whenever you do eventually gain another one. Gaining another camel train and a copper are probably both downsides to that line, but it is avoiding you a lot of total junk. Yeah, I don't think you're discipling the camel train because you want more camel trains. You're doing it because you want to play camel train twice. Province already. That's early. Okay, can't really afford to pitch here because you got your teacher in your hand. You consider Mountain Shrine trashing the camel train, and it'll draw 2 cards. And then follow up with the teacher, hoping to draw another hunting lodge. Just gonna delay the barge. That also seems fine. Probably buy nothing. You could turn camel train into animal fare, but it comes with a copper. Alrighty, here comes all the junk. About to gain silver and a bunch of coppers. Derpa's banner tend to draw pretty well, at least. Still nothing in the trash. We don't want to play the displace? I don't see why not. Oh, you want to exile something first. So this looks like it's going to be plus action on barge, which also looks pretty fine. This sure seems like a deck that needs to play a lot of mountain shrines if it wants to stay on top of things. I think plus action on mountain shrine looks better. And another province. I don't think I believe in the early scoring. This just seems like the sort of kingdom where you have to be very extra cautious about making sure your deck eventually comes together. Because bureaucracy will cause your deck to slip away from you pretty easily. Bobby puts plus action on the mountain shrine pile. Okay, that's what I anticipated. There are situations where, like, let's say you had some combination of terminal action cards and you got a few villages. It could be correct to put plus action just on the hunting lodge pile. The downside of that is your deck's a little bit less reliable because you need to find a hunting lodge to kick off, as opposed to putting it on a terminal draw card, in which case finding those in your hand even without a hunting lodge is sufficient. The upside is if you had, say, 4 hunting lodges and like 2 to 3 of anything else, well, putting it on the pile that you have the most of is just getting you the most total actions for your buck. So you could just top deck the hunting lodge and yeah, just hold off for next turn. I suspect Derpa's in the lead here. I think that's despite the provinces rather than because of them. But it doesn't look like Bobby's deck has caught up in time. And what are you taking here? We already got plus action on barge, I guess. Oh, we didn't already have plus action on barge. We just got plus action on barge. Is there an action in the trash yet? Still no. Now could be the time. Trash that camel train. And then all these mountain shrines are going to draw. If you are going to gain hunting lodges at all, this looks like a hunting lodge game probably. They're going to play the camel train first in exile. No, a goal? Oh no, don't say it ain't so. Derpa. Derpa. Your deck has more than enough treasures in it as is. I don't believe in that for 1 second. Anyways, as I was saying, if you're going to get hunting lodges at all, action phase gains would be the time to do it because they come with all that stuff, the silver and then a copper for the hunting lodge and a copper for the silver, all of which would draw you cards of a footpad. So like displacing a hunting lodge into it, or sorry, displacing a province into another hunting lodge is going to draw you 4 cards, which is, I mean, that's a lot. Could you say a bit about when to strive for deck control and when to give in to the lack of draw or bureaucracy or whatever and just go for provinces? Um, Deck chat. I I have to assume they must have turned it off. Maybe that. So it should say message spectators if spec chat is uh, off, and it would just say message if it's on, and then your messages go to both players. But like, there's no way they saw all of this text and neither of them turned it off. So maybe the message is just incorrect. That's my guess. Yeah, I see the same thing as you. Um, they must have turned it off. I'm guessing it's a bug with the text. Anyways, yeah, bureaucracy definitely can be the sort of thing that is so oppressive you just can't build an engine. You need to have a plan to deal with the stream of coppers coming in. And like to my mind, the main thing here that makes that viable is Mountain Shrine. I think if you remove Mountain Shrine, scoring on the earlier side starts to look a lot more realistic. Well, I guess if you remove Mountain Shrine, there's nothing to trigger bureaucracy. Replace Mountain Shrine with some other omen, and you get the gist. Like if you build a deck that just has a bunch of Mountain Shrines for draw, and then you like put the plus action token on it, then you ought to have a deck where you're trashing 4 or 5 coppers a turn pretty easily, and that's enough to deal with it. I think the trouble is Bobby was just very behind from the get go. I like the idea of action on Mountain Shrine. They've been suffering since what, turn 3? Someone finally trashed something. It can be a little bit late. All right, game 1 to derpa. If they can find a very difficult winning line here. Oh, they managed it. They were player 1 on that game. So game 2 could be Bobby's time to strike Matt. We shall see. Yeah, so it seems like it's been off. I think, and mine also does say message spectators now, so the text is correct. It seems to have been a bug. Okay, on to game 2. What do we got here? There's not a lot in the way of draw. You got Black Cat and then Swamp Shacks with enough stuff in play. But there are a lot of duration cards that you could get in play. And then if you got 4 or 5 of those already at the start of turn, your Swamp Shacks might start out drawing 2 out of the gates. So I think you can definitely... Oh, also, Journey plus Swamp Shacks is a bit of a thing. You buy Journey at some point. I would think of Journey as a lot of times less of an extra turn and more of like +5 cards, +1 action, +1 buy for the cost of 4. Because you can't. The normal benefit of having multiple turns is playing the same stuff twice over, like playing all your remodels again, or playing your Travelers the second time. And Journey doesn't let you do that. And so a lot of times Journey favors the decks that are otherwise a little bit heavier on payload and lighter on draw. And then you draw through a bit of your deck, and I hit a dud. I'll buy Journey and then continue on. But a big upside here is that leaves all the stuff in play from the first half of the turn, all of which will still count towards Swamp Shacks in the second half. Something to think about. We got plus buy, got a little bit of thinning with Trading Post and Altar. That should be enough. And Lighthouse can block Black Cat. Guardian cannot block Black Cat, because you can play Lighthouse before your buy phase, whereas Guardian, you play it after your buy phase, and then it applies until the start of your next turn. And so under normal circumstances, there's no way to get a Guardian to block a Black Cat. Anyways, how'd they open? We got Family of Inventors. The favors are coming from Contract. So Bobby used that favor to get a Trading Post on the 4-3, followed by a Ghost Town. That seems reasonable. Normally I don't open with Villages, but Ghost Town is like +1 card immediately next turn, which means you're 100% guaranteed to find that Trading Post, because your deck will be 11 cards, the 10 starting ones plus the Trading Post. You'll draw 6 turn 3, 5 turn 4. So that all works out. Derpa's opening. We got Trading Post again. So they open it on 3, and then by Journey on the $4 turn. That, I think, also looks pretty good. Ghost Town turn 1, generally not doing so much for you, because you'd be drawing a card for turn 2, then whatever you buy turn 2. So if you got the Trading Post turn 2, you'd be triggering a shuffle before you got the Trading Post. So I think, yeah, that line makes a lot of sense. And I am not remotely caught up. Yeah, clicking Journey aggressively early makes sense. Probably the main thing you're focusing on in the short term is playing that Trading Post a bunch. Someone's got a Messenger already. That makes sense to me. Messenger's not a very strong card, but in this case it's the only plus buy. You don't need to have a Messenger if you just have Captain. Supposing you were just hitting 6 from an early point, you'd take a Captain and play it as Messenger when you need it. Okay, I think probably pitch here and buy a Captain. Not sure who has the contract, but you could consider putting a token on Captain so that your Altar can gain Captains. And that would be a case in favor of taking Altar directly. Does not appear to be bobbydj who has the contract, unless it's that bottom card. Yeah, there it is in Derpa's hand. Okay. Derpa also was 6. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, Captain looks good, obviously. I think you could also consider favor on Captain, buy an Altar, and then your Altar gains you more Captains. Looks pretty good. They just go for the Captain directly. Or actually, that might not have worked. I'm going to take that back. Derpa didn't have this favor until after they played the contract in the buy phase. And you can only use Family of Inventors at the start of the buy phase. So for stuff that gives you favor in the buy phase, like contract, and are there other treasures that are also liaisons? Bobble's another one. You're not able to trigger it until the following turn. So that line wouldn't have worked. I'm not sure what those bottom three cards are, but I believe one's the captain. So you might want to undo here. Don't play all your treasures. Leave a copper in hand, and then buy Journey. Also, don't play the Ghost Town, and then you'll draw those three cards plus the copper plus the Ghost Town. You can get your captain into play. Still play the Ghost Town, and buy whatever you were going to buy here. Nope, they just go for the Jester directly. I don't know exactly what those bottom three cards were. It's possible that there wasn't enough money down there to hit 5, but if at least one of them was a silver, they would have had it. And the upside of doing it that way, the primary one is you get your captain to play it already. Putting a favor on Jester could also let captains play Jesters. With one captain apiece, that's more of a reciprocal benefit. Derpa's got 7, just takes another captain. I don't think Reap looks all too good here. And it does get a card in play to make Swamp Shacks draw more. That's something. But I think you got plenty of stuff giving you money. Oh, also, who got the Jester? Bobby got the Jester, so Derpa should definitely be thinking about adding Lighthouse, which will shut down the Jester. You probably want him eventually anyway to counter Black Cats. This looks like play a Messenger, buy Journey plus a 2-cost card. Probably Lighthouse as well. Yeah. Yeah, that all makes sense. Now you need an extra action to play both of these. So presumably Captain playing Swamp Shacks is the move. And that'll draw you 2 cards. They've played the captain as a messenger. Oh, I see what I missed. They had an extra action already from the Ghost Town, so they didn't need to play the Swamp Shacks. So possibly that was a better order. And this gets you 2 money and a buy. The other line that draws stuff would also have gotten you 2 money, at least, because you draw the Lighthouse and the Copper. And it gets Lighthouse into play. If you wanted all 3 buys, then that line could look better. It didn't look like they needed the buys, though. Okay, Captain as Messenger. You'll have 8, 10, 12 money to work with. That's a Journey. Probably leave a silver in hand and buy a Captain. And the ship still hasn't really sailed on any altar. This could be put a favor on Captain and then Journey altar. Hoping to gain a Captain on the Journey turn. Alright, Derpa is spending a favor. What did they spend it on? Yeah, okay. Looks like they are doing that. The favor on the captain, I think, strongly suggests they're planning to buy an altar. I mean, they could just be they want to buy a bunch of captains for cheap. But they have more than enough money for that already as is. And they just bought a captain. Okay. Unfortunately, Bobby DJ does not have a contract to do anything funky with. I'm not sure who has more plus buy here in a practical sense. They both have a bunch of captains that can potentially be plus buy. You'd think that placing a bunch of favors aggressively should favor whoever naturally has more buys to work with. A good hit from Jester could have been averted. There is a card that blocks Jester attacks. Alright, we got 7 money. For sure one of those buys is going to be Journey. Then could be Ghost Town, could be another Lighthouse, could be a Black Cat. I think all of those look alright. Okay, we got 2 captains to play. Yeah, one is Swamp Shacks makes sense. Probably just one more is Swamp Shacks. There's a lot of stuff down there, including, I believe, a captain you just gained, and unfortunately did not draw. Silver, I don't think you want more silvers. I think you can let your opponent have that. Nope, we do want more silvers. Double captain. Now, would it be reasonable to empty messengers in one turn? You buy. Oh, well, no, I don't think you could buy messenger and distribute messengers. But the goal of emptying messenger would be to deny them to your opponent. So you wouldn't want to pass out the messengers if you were trying to do that. Probably not. That is the danger here, though, is if you're reliant on captain for the plus buy. Your opponent can just remove the pile. I believe that was just relevant in one of the matches I uploaded in the past week or so. Is it game 1 versus Breppert, maybe? I think one of the earlier Breppert games had a kingdom with captain, and I think it was Nomads was the only plus buy in that game. Okay, so Derpa has gotten thin. Does not have Journey yet this turn. So you could buy some stuff here, take a Journey turn, play it. The downside of buying Journey every turn with Captain around is your Captains leave play consistently, and then you gotta put them back into play. But I think the upside's probably higher of, unlike most of your cards, you buy Journey, you get to do all the Captain stuff a second time over, even at the cost of the Captain's leaving play. And so it means there's a pretty solid floor of value on your Journey turns once you got a few Captains in the deck. Also, this would definitely be a good time to buy a Lighthouse. Bobby's still got that Jester, and you could get it in play on the Journey turn. Just Lighthouse plus Black Cat. Yeah, there we go. Or 2 Lighthouses. That seems sensible as well. So you don't need the trading post anymore, and Captain can play trading post here because the cost has been reduced to 3. Unfortunately, there isn't a second junk card in the deck, but you could just turn trading post into silver, into just a silver, to get it out of your hand. Probably not happening this turn. This looks like a hand that's going to want extra buys, and with the one captain left, that's got to be a messenger, right? Yeah. So you could opt not to play the lighthouse, planning to get it in play for the following turn. I assume that's what they're doing, given that they haven't played it. Could also just buy another lighthouse next turn. This is not a kingdom where I'd be unhappy to have more than 2 lighthouses with swamp shacks around. We're playing the lighthouse and spending a favor for captain plus province. Okay, derpa likes scoring very early. Can't help but notice. It's a lot of captains in the starting hand for bobbydj. I would think probably you start off with the first 2 as messenger, and then the third one playing swamp shacks, and that'll draw you 2 cards. But we're thinking about it. If you really wanted to draw, you could play him as Black Cat. But with Journey around, I think drawing a ton of cards isn't a huge necessity, because like if your swamp shacks don't draw you into much, you just buy Journey because you're probably going to buy that anyway, and then draw the rest on the following turn, and you're still all right. Yeah. Okay, yeah, messenger, that makes sense. Messenger, okay. All according to plan so far. There's only 3 cards it can play, and one of them at this point is just strictly worse than the other. Black Cat would be +2 cards and +0 actions, compared to Swamp Shack's +2/+2. So the only other thing you could be thinking about here would be playing the third captain as a messenger and just buying Journey immediately, maybe? I don't think that sounds better. Oh, okay, well, silly me. We're not even playing these captains? Not even one of them? I don't exactly understand what just happened there. So supposing you wanted someone to play next turn, you still could have played one captain as messenger, and then you'd have had two captains in play for the start of the following turn. I don't like that either. Maybe you need the buys. Be looking to play captain as trading post, getting the trading post out of your deck. At this stage, you don't have any other targets to trade with trading post. I don't know what verb to use there. Trading post non-optionally trashes too. I think I'd rather do trading post and copper into a silver and live with one copper in the deck. Another lighthouse. Okay. I thought a ghost town looked a little bit better here, but lighthouse is fine. At some point, someone reduced gesture down to 4 cost. I didn't even notice that. But that does make the lighthouses extra important, because if you ever have a turn where you don't get the lighthouse in play, your opponent can play a bunch of captains as gestures. And that could potentially be a problem. I guess less so now that captain's empty, because that's the best thing for gesture to steal. Alright, derpa displays his captain as a messenger. So expect some swamp shack plays in a moment. Looking at 14 money and 3 buys. One of those buys surely has to be Journey. That brings you down to 10 money and 2 buys. I don't know what you do with 10 and 2 buys. Could just be a province and a black cat, or a province and a lighthouse. But if you go into your journey turn, might be a good time to add some more payload. Buy a messenger, distributing some messengers. And then what? We cost reduced messenger, making it look like they might care about having 7 money exactly, after messenger plus journey that have 7 remaining. Do they plan on buying Reap? That doesn't seem like it'd be right. I think Journey plus Altar still looks fine. At a minimum, you got a trading post as a target. These silvers are also pretty low value. Ugh. Oh, they're playing with the timer. Derpa nearly hitting 0 seconds there. But they end up gaining. They did get an altar. Oh, goody. You're encouraged to play with the non-binding timer this season just to see what it feels like. Indeed. I started out playing with it and then quickly realized I hated it and turned it off again. I think I was one of those opponents. Derpa has 2 trading posts. I kind of forgot that detail. Yes, the altar looks especially good. Probably a long time coming. And they're already in Duchy. Maybe it could be Duchy time already. I'm not sure. Seems like your deck could do a lot with a few more of those 4-cost cards. The Messengers and the Swamp Shacks. That frees up your captains to do a lot more stuff. Bunch of Black Cats, which the attack won't matter because of Lighthouse. But you still get to play them on the opposing player's turn, which could be something if you manage to. And upside of that, like even if you didn't need the actions of playing the Black Cat for free, it also means you can play the Black Cat. It'll get discarded at the end of your opponent's turn, and it goes back into your deck, and you could potentially play it a second time on your turn and get extra draw out of it. So Black Cat looks alright. The downside is, if you're not finding it on the top, it's just a moat, which isn't super high value or anything. Right, not sure how many provinces here is safe for bobbydj. I'm thinking probably 1. I don't know if derpa can do 24 across a normal and a journey turn. Wouldn't entirely rule that out. Possibly the correct answer is 0 provinces here and just take a few duchies. You definitely want to enter the opponent's turn with a points lead, because with Messenger around and some piles kind of low, it's definitely possible to pile out. All right, we got 16 here. For sure you're buying Journey. That leaves you at 12. I guess, is there any consideration of winning this turn? Probably not, but maybe? You have a lot of buys. I wouldn't rule it out. So for sure the Lighthouse is low. I think Messenger might be easier to pile than Ghost Town. It looks like bobbydj might be going for the Ghost Town pile out. I was thinking there's 2 more Messengers in the Messenger pile, but if you buy Messenger distributing Messengers, you're getting extra plus buy into your deck. And you can buy Messenger distributing Messenger again. And so I think it might be easier to pile Messenger in practice. But the distribution of Ghost Town to make it look like they're going for a different pile out, which might also be possible. They've already bought Journey. With 9 left. 9 is an awkward number because you can't quite buy the 1 province you'll need to take a points lead and also a Lighthouse. So maybe just 2 Ghost Towns. Then you're really banking on winning on the following turn. DJ sure is acting like the timer is binding. They keep rushing to play their cards the moment it gets down to like 2. Okay, these jesters ain't gaining anything. What else down there? I think there's 1 messenger in the discard. Yeah, so you have at most 4 buys, but you need 5 buys to win, so no dice. So now what do? Maybe just double province here and try to take a big enough points lead that derpa can't come back from it. Other option would be a bunch of duchies and hope they can't hit 24. I think 2 provinces looks better. To beat double province, derpa I think would need more than 24 money worth of victory cards. So it should set up the higher barrier to winning. Yeah, so now derpa needs 1 province and 3 duchies to tie. And that right there is 23, but they also need to gain an estate. It's also more total buys, which could be relevant. So I think this line looks marginally safer than taking no more provinces. And then as derpa, you obviously can't afford to give your opponent any more turns, so it's do or die here. Okay, so derpa's got a bit of a dud hand, which is not really a big deal with Journey around. How many of these cards do you put in play? Probably you play both lighthouses and 1 silver. You're not making any more money by saving a lighthouse for the following turn because it makes you 1 money each turn regardless. Oh, they also got a captain to resolve. Okay, so this looks like it ought to be Journey plus Duchy, probably. They're leaving a silver. The reason to leave a silver in your hand would be if you don't need the money now, you don't want to put it into play because you can potentially draw back around and play it on the Journey turn. But you do kind of need the money now, it seems like. They keep acting like the timer is gonna end the game. Every time it gets down to like 1 second, they start playing again. Messenger Lighthouse doesn't make a lot of sense to me. That looks like a line that's going for a pile out. In theory, there could be some merit to like Messenger distributing silvers if buys and draw weren't a major obstacle, but money was. Paying 3 for a Messenger and a silver is like making 1 money back. Okay, so we're going to have an altar to gain the 1 duchy. And then you need 20 money left over to win. Do we have 20 here? Got 4 plus 8, 12, 14, 16, 18. Looks like this will get there. Does this still get there? Yeah, this is still fine. I was thinking they needed to play the captain as a messenger, and they played it as a swamp shacks, but they can also Trading post a black cat away. Oh, plus they drew another messenger. Yeah, so this is... Wait, is this enough? Might this... Yeah, yeah, this is one short. I think they did just throw the game there. They definitely had the win. So they are player 2, which means they can afford to take a tie, which would be half a point for each player. Yeah, they rushed those last few decisions in a way that looked a little bit sloppy. Okay, 1-all going into game 3. Looks like Courtyard big money. Probably with Pirate as well. Maybe Soothsayer. You got a lot of ways to gain treasures. There's looting for loots. Enclave can gain you gold. Pirate can gain you golds. Silvermine can gain you abundance. And abundance isn't super strong here because you don't want to gain a bunch of actions. But I wouldn't hate a Silvermine just printing a bunch of duration silvers that sit and play for, or duration golds that sit and play for a bit, and then let you double later on. I could see adding a Silvermine. There's also Fairgrounds, which would push in the direction of looting. You could get a diversity of differently named loots, and then Fairgrounds all of a sudden is worth more points. 2-5 would be great here, but neither player has it. Yeah, I think Courtyard Silver makes sense. It's likely to hit 5. Oh, this is an ugly hand for derpa. Does Soothsayer happen? Maybe. I could imagine maybe taking an early Soothsayer in conjunction with a heavy focus on Fairgrounds, like trying to make the game take longer so you have time to buff up the Fairgrounds to like 6 or so. All right, derpa's got 6 to 9 money. Put a copper back. So derpa's gone for the early Soothsayer, which would make me think... Oh, no, never mind. I was going to say, which would make me think they're about to buy looting here. Like I mentioned, I feel like the looting plus Soothsayer interaction would seem to point towards Fairgrounds. Now they're back to top deck and copper. Second Soothsayer. So very heavy on the curses. bobbydj bought looting immediately. Interesting. Hits 4, kind of a gross number here. Okay, top deck Courtyard, presumably. And then, I don't know what you're buying here. Could just be looting again. Are the Courtyard split 3 to 3? Bobby goes for Enclave. That's kind of early to want the points, I would think. Does Courtyard Big Money beat Cellar Big Money? Surely it does. Courtyard Big Money, I think, is one of the better Big Money variants. I believe Courtyard Big Money actually beat Smithy Big Money. I could be wrong about that. But I think the fact that you can buy it on 2 or 3 is relevant, and also the fact that you can top deck your best card if you're overshooting 8, for example, or top deck another Courtyard that you drew dead, are upsides a lot of the time. So I think 3 to 4 Courtyards makes a lot of sense in the deck without the Soothsayers. Probably only want 1 to 2 in a deck that has 2 Soothsayers in it. Okay, let's see. Take a look. Buys looting. So first, Bobby gets an insignia. Then Derpa gets a figurehead. Then Bobby gets a spell scroll. Then Bobby gets an insignia. His second insignia isn't doing a whole heck of a lot. Figurehead seems pretty good in a big money game because +2 cards is pretty valuable, especially non-terminally. Spell scroll, I think, seems all right. You can convert that into a soothsayer or a pirate and be fine. Obviously not what you're looking for if you're trying to find plus buy. I guess here this could be Silver Mine gaining an abundance, playing an abundance. If you really need plus buy, then you got 11. You could buy some action plus looting. Also kind of annoying to get 2 insignias if you're trying to get a diversity of loots for Fairgrounds, because the second insignia is not going to count as a distinct card there. Alright, Bobby's just going for the Soothsayer. And draws Derpa a Courtyard. How generous. And another Enclave. I'm not super sold on the early Enclaves. I feel like just another loot's likely to do more for you. Alright, Derp with 11 as well. Pirate plus looting. Hammer. That seems reasonably good here. Obviously, plus buys can be more important for scoring, but you can pick up a diversity of other stuff, Caravan Guard or Cellar or Changeling, and that will pump up the Fairgrounds numbers. Bobby DJ still sans plus buy. I mean, some of this is his fault for buying Enclaves. These golds may have been loots that said plus buy on them. You never know. There we go. Unfortunately, this is a fresh shuffle, so we're not going to see that puzzle box for a hot second. Derpa takes a second Silver Mine. I don't think a second one's doing that much for you. I think 1 makes sense. Maybe there's just not too many other things you want. Derpa's already kind of over terminal, I guess. Pirate's not really terminal here, but kinda. Okay, Bobby looking at as much as 11 money. You thinking about maybe top decking a loot and a pirate? No, put the gold back. Interesting. Endless Chalice, I think, is quite a good loot for big money. Because you see it every turn, whereas most loot you're seeing only every like 3 or 4 turns. And I think we're reaching the point where you sort of want to start clicking Fairgrounds. Both players are at the top of a fresh shuffle. Anything you buy here, you're not going to see super early. All right, Sexton putting in some work there for sure. Derpa functionally has 15 money here, but at least some of that has to go towards buying an action card. So maybe Caravan Double Fairgrounds or Caravan Looting Fairgrounds. I think probably Double Fairgrounds. Bobby will at least have hands with insignia where he could consider buying a thing that gets top decked and played immediately the following turn. For Derpa, you're at least 3 to 4 turns from seeing whatever you buy right now. Derpa goes for another courtyard and some fairgrounds. That seems alright as well, although with the state of their deck, maybe a non-terminal action could be better. Plus a uniquely named action, for that matter. Bobby unfortunately hits 5 here, which is significantly not 6. Okay, so you could trigger this abundance immediately beginning an action off of hammer if you want to have 10 money. I think I would kind of seriously consider doing it the other way around. Playing hammer first, then playing abundance to leave it and play for next turn. Because 10's not going to get you to 2 fairgrounds, but an abundance next turn potentially could. Like, what are you doing on 4 here? 4 is not a important number by engineer, I guess. There's another caravan. Yeah, that caravan guard's not a card you buy because you really want the caravan guard. It's a card you buy because it triggers your abundances. I think that was probably a poor order. That's a annoying number of courtyards in hand. Fairgrounds and a second cellar. Sellers have kind of ambiguous value here. The deck's obviously kind of junky, and if you can line the seller up with at least 2 junk cards, then it's net drawing you cards. Unfortunately, there's no start of turn draw or non-terminal draw really that is going to give you a big enough hand to reliably line up those cards. If you see at least 1 junk card, like this curse, then it's at minimum breaking even. Yeah, look how much better this hand would be with 1 more abundance in play. This would be a double fairgrounds hand. Here, the problem you got is to get that second buy, you have to buy an action card. You don't need an action card right now. You need victory cards, or treasures for that matter. Some more terminal collision. And we got how much? 4, 10 money, 10, no, 11 money. How much do with 11? Probably not a whole lot. I think maybe just top deck the insignia and set aside the silver and buy just fairgrounds and nothing else. Then you got a bunch of money next turn. What happened? Bobby DJ puts all the money into play, buying a fairgrounds and a silver mine. I don't think I love that. I mean, silver mine. They didn't have one yet, so it is a uniquely named card. But it's also a card you could easily gain off of pirate whenever that shows up. That's gonna be a nice seller. I wonder if you pitch the courtyard as well. Derpa's kind of over terminal, so the chance you draw into another terminal is not that low. They keep it, and it looks like it. Well, actually, it looks like it probably didn't pay off. Right, Derpa also suffering from lack of plus buy. Yeah, just Province seems okay. And this sure is looking like Derpa's game to lose. Courtyard and Curse are both kind of low. And this is not the sort of deck that's going to score 20 points in a turn. Uh, would this be a win if you gained an abundance instead of a gold? You got 1, 2, 3, 4 buys. Yeah, I think they just missed another win. I mean, they're going to win anyway. But if that gold were in abundance, then 2 Courtyard, 3 Curse would be a win here. Two duchies. Interesting. All right, we once again have a win here on 2 Courtyards and 3 Curses. Will we see it this time? Yes. Or maybe they'll buy 3 duchies. That would also work. Okay, 2-1 for Derpa, and I believe 3-0 for player 1. Oh, you're right, you're right. Yeah, that wasn't a win, that was a tie. Okay, so we already see 2 big blunders, one from each player in this kingdom, which is that neither has banned Berserker. And they don't really have an excuse either, because at least one of them, actually, no, for sure both of them have failed to fill out a full ban list. Pretty significant misplay there. Yeah, Possession on the ban list, that's obvious. Frigate, a good choice. Page, I can see disliking the Page line a lot. Philosopher's Stone, Philosopher's Stone never hurt anybody. Or Transmute. You put how do you dislike Transmute? That's ridiculous. Urchin, Catapult, Torture, Giant, those are all fine. Baths and Wall, okay. Okay, so at least we got Village Green, which is something of a counter to Berserker. Yeah, 5-2 does not look good here. Bobby DJ just takes a captain. That could have been a Berserker that would come with an attack. What is there to dislike about Wall? Wall penalizes you for playing Dominion, which is a thing that you presumably shouldn't like if you like playing the game. One thing I'd point out about wall that I think ends up being very significant is that normally it takes two duchies to equal a province. So if you're behind on provinces, say 5 to 3, you can come back by getting 4 duchies as well. With wall around, province is functionally 5, a duchy is functionally worth 2. And so now if you fall behind, firstly, probably just by virtue of building more, you've got more negative points because you built a bigger deck. But also, now it's going to take 2.5 duchies for every province. And so you end up in a situation where a wall just really aggressively pushes you towards don't bother building the deck, just score early, and if you can get across the like half the province's line, you're probably going to win. So I mentioned like in Berserker as a gain on that one turn with the change, but Captain is also a very good card here. Captain can play Experiment, which makes it a laboratory on one turn, and then like a Lost City plus a lab on the following turn. That's quite strong. Plus, there's other good fours, like Captain can play Remake to get a bunch of the copies out of your deck quickly, or can play more changes. bobbydj18's got 2 captains in play. I'd think about maybe like change a Capra into Berserker, gaining some experiments for a ton of draw, and that could be a thing. I wonder if Young Witch sees any play. Young Witch can pitch Tunnels or Village Greens, both of which want to get discarded. That seems significant. Sure enough, we played a Young Witch here. Mhm. I'm feeling Remake over Change here in the opening, or just in general. Hmm. And remaking estates into experiments does look really good. Change is also a quick path up to some of the expensive stuff that matters a lot, like Berserker or Captain. Is Young Witching Tunnels how you go for payload in this kingdom? I should theoretically be building to double province. No. Um, I think Young Witch Tunnel looks like one efficient way to get some payload into this kingdom. There aren't any actions that are doing super much, but like playing Berserker, gaining a bunch of cheap stuff looks like payload. Remaking stuff into more expensive stuff is payload. Change is doing something. And so you could definitely play this kingdom without Tunnel and be fine. But yeah, I think Tunnel looks like a pretty efficient way to add some extra money. And then I should theoretically be building a double province. No. For sure, at least double province, maybe triple. Depends on how it plays out. Where's the third buy coming from? Yeah, change. You can only buy 2 provinces, but you can. I mean, you could in theory gain 8 provinces in a turn with enough change plays, but you're not building that big. I have to assume you changing stuff into Berserker and gaining experiment just consistently looks like a good play because it makes your change a smithy. We just go for Village Green. I mean, Village Green is certainly the better long-term card. This is definitely a kingdom where Village Green does a lot of work. And on 3, what are you betting on 3? Experiment's a lot less exciting when you're getting it in the buy phase here. You don't really need the actions with a bunch of Village Greens, so maybe Steward? A second tunnel also would not be unreasonable. I think my vote's for a Steward here. Bobby agrees. Hmm. If you were gonna play that Village Green normally, then I think Captain as Young Witch discarding it is probably looking like a better option. I mean, maybe they have a specific plan for the Captain. Hmm. Unfortunately, Captain can't play any of the villages. There's 2 villages in the kingdom, and they're both orange. Pretty good draw off the top there. There's a bunch of actions down there that could have gotten drawn dead, and Derpa finds the copper instead. I don't know about copper into Captain. I just keep wanting. You gain Berserker in the action phase, and then you can remake your extra Berserkers into Captains and get the Captains that way. I think Bobby looks quite ahead here. Change into another Berserker, gain a remake, and you can draw that and play it, remake your Berserkers into Captains, play the Captains as, I don't know, more changes or something. Oh, maybe that wouldn't have worked. They were in debt. Forget I said anything. Unfortunately, If you got debt with change, you can't use the remodel effect. You are allowed to pay off debt mid-turn, so if you have enough money to pay off your debt, you can do that. But you can't play treasure to pay off the debt. You'd have to have enough money purely from actions, and they did not. Okay, this might be a good time to buy fair. I mean, a second buy isn't absolutely essential in this kingdom with change around, but it seems like it could be nice, yeah. You could think about remaking these experiments instead of playing them. They're pretty good targets for it. If I'm not mistaken, Turpa's kind of behind on Village Greens. Oh, they just want to play the experiments? Okay. They're playing again. I don't know about playing the Berserker. You gain a new Berserker. That'll play itself, and then you can remake the old Berserker into a captain and get that in play. Derpa could also probably use a tunnel pretty soon. Maybe even gaining one off the Berserker and then discarding it with a Young Witch there off of the captain. uh, Change into a Berserker, presumably. No, they just want to trash a curse. I think change into Berserker looks better because you just drew your opponent a card, so you want to discard it, attack him again, and the Berserker can gain you a change or a remake or whatever it is you want to really play. I'll gain a Berserker that way instead. And what they gain off of the Berserker? I missed it. A change. Okay. And with 5, just another Berserker and a Village Green, probably. You only got 2 of them. Fishing Village. There's no way Fishing Village is better. Maybe they're worried about piles? Only Village Green is really low, but with remake and change around, maybe they think their opponent could pile out Berserker and Captain next turn. Certainly, if you're discounting that possibility, Fishing Village is just a much better, or sorry, Village Green is a much better village than Fishing Village in this kingdom. I wouldn't be entirely surprised if Bobby could pile this turn, but it doesn't feel like you need to be going for that. So I think more likely this is a turn where you add a little bit more and then probably time to start thinking about a province or so. Young Witch coming in. No, just an experiment. You got a Village Green and a Tunnel on hand to discard. Surely one of these captains is about to play Young Witch. Nope, just a remake. Okay, yeah, we're undoing it. I don't think that made very much sense. I mean, you could also remake the coppers, but I think the way you remake the coppers is by gaining a berserker, which gains a remake, and then playing that remake. But no, we just cantripped 2 village greens. You can play those for free. Just gotta point out that a young witch would have been exactly as many cards as an experiment and would have come with more total actions. Because they would have been able to pitch 2 village greens and play those for free. We're trashing the tunnel. I don't know why. I think you gotta watch out for points. I mean, the threat might be lower on Derpa's end. I think Derpa's deck's a lot weaker, so maybe Derpa can't pile out. But if I were Derpa, I'm definitely thinking about going for broke this turn, which probably means Captain Berserker and Village Green look like the best 3 piles. Just start by remaking this Berserker and change and see how far that gets you. Gain a Captain, gain a Berserker, gain a Village Green, and you only got 6 gains left to win. No, we're just playing Berserker and gaining experiments. That does not look like a player who's trying to win this turn. I mean, I guess conceivably, maybe they're going for the experiment pile. If you want to empty experiments, you can't really afford to play any. I guess you could play 1 experiment because it's an odd number. Yeah, that might also work. I could see experiments being the 3rd pile here. Now what? Change Copper into Berserker, gaining more experiments? Nope, just a Captain. Okay, we're getting close. So you could remake Village Green and change into 2 Berserkers, gaining 2 Village Greens. Getting awful close. Is a win yet? This last experiment's a little bit awkward to gain. I guess remaking a Village Green into a Berserker would be the best way to gain it. You can't change expensive stuff into experiment. You could trash a copper into an experiment, but you have to be out of debt first for that to work. Alright, so this is just a win now. Giving out a curse in lieu of scoring points gives you the points lead, and now you just have to remake the Village Green into another Berserker, gaining that last experiment. That'll be a win. Yeah, whoa. I sure hope you still have it, because you just passed up a win for the 3rd time this match. So now we're 1 coin shy of getting out of debt and playing a change. But also, you've played 1 too many experiments, and I need to gain 2 of them. I think Derpa's just thrown this game. VG at what point? Instead of this last experiment, drawing 1 change, and then doing what? You play 1 change and you just buy the experiments? That'd be enough money? 4, 6. Yeah, that'd be exactly enough money. Yeah, that would work too. So this is just going to be a trivial loss now. You've lowered the pile a bunch. I think probably you should have I mean, I don't think you can undo far enough back to take the win, but you could undo the village green play and then play these experiments just to get them back out of your deck and into the pile to make it marginally harder. But like realistically, there's no way your opponent's not gonna turn. I don't think Bobby DJ has the win in hand quite yet. Now they might. Remake two village greens into berserkers gaining experiments, and then change something into a province would be a win. There's gonna be a million ways to win here. Okay, I'm pretty sure we have more than enough to win in hand at this point. We could probably do like 5 piles here. Versus berserkers, experiments, village greens, and captains. Maybe 6. If you really set your mind to it, you could probably pile changes as well. All right, and that's a win. Okay, 2.5, 1.5, Derpa's favor, I believe. Okay, game 5. What is going on here? We got crossroads for a village. Is that the only village? E. So you're playing at most 3 terminal actions per turn. That also means flourishing trade is not going to be super impactful without extra actions for buys. Well, I guess flourishing trade is still good here because of the synergy with Poet. Everything costs 1 less, and now Poet can draw Poet, which makes it a much more consistent draw card. FTRS does a thing. So flourishing trade with River Shrine means you can now gain 5s off of River Shrine as well. So where is this headed? It seems awkward in that there's not a lot of non-terminal draw. Kind of went with Crossroads. I think Poet looks pretty good to me in light of that. So what all terminal actions are you playing with? Maybe 2 copies of Crossroads. This is the sort of kingdom where you really want to make sure you find your village. And that leaves you space for 2 more actions. Maybe like 1 draw card and 1 River Shrine that could later be a Sacred Grove. I assume they're opening with River Shrine. And on the 4-3, maybe you consider City Gate. Neither of them has that. They all no, there is no 4-3. You got the Cursed Gold around. You either have a 4-5 or a 6-3. I guess 4-5 seems better here. And neither player has that. They both have the 6-3 split. One goes for Silver River Shrine. The other goes for River Shrine City Gate. Both having to take a curse to get into their deck. All right, taking a Spice Merchant. Seems all right. Could help you clean up the coppers quicker. It's also a laboratory if you find it in your starting hand. Because of Shy. I guess Silver might not be a bad payload with Poet around. Though there is also Gold Mine to gain gold more cheaply. And there isn't a good Silver gainer. But he take it on 5. Sacred Grove, okay. Derpa does not have City Gate yet. This would be a good turn to buy it. City Gate does not gain any cards, so you can buy City Gate and still gain something for free off of your River Shrine. Thinking about whether to trash estates or coppers. I guess considering Crossroads maybe was the relevant factor there. But they do trash the estates anyway. And take a Poet. Yeah, that makes sense. Will-O-Wisp seems like a good boon to me. It can't draw silvers here once Flourishing Trade activates. It also can be drawn by Poet. And we got 3 money, or you could just pass your turn to gain a 4. The latter seems probably better. Just get another Poet. No, we want a Crossroads. A second Crossroads. Right, Derp is getting real thin real fast with this double Spice Merge, but now have to think about payload. Flourishing Trade is active, so you could trash 2 things here and still gain a 5. Or maybe just trash the curse and then buy Crossroads plus a Sacred Grove. Could be a consideration. Yeah, I think that sounds better to me. It's not like you need to trash the coppers with River Shrine when you get 2 Spice Merchants in your deck. Will Bobby buy an estate? No, he will take a 3rd Crossroads for the 3 estates that he does have. Getting a gold. There is some synergy here between Gold Mine and River Shrine, because you can pay off the debt And then you didn't gain anything in your buy phase. You gained the gold in the action phase, and you still get to gain something off of the River Shrine, which is nice. Uh, might be time to part ways with the spice merchants. Maybe you trash one of them in a copper here, and then you gain a poet. No, we're taking plus buy to get a crossroads, presumably another poet, and maybe another copper for that matter. If we're keeping the spice merchants around for buys. No, just a crossroads and a poet. Uh, Moonboon not doing a whole heck of a lot here. This actually would have been a pretty good time for Sun's Gift. Or not Sun's Gift, Sky's Gift, probably. Gaining a gold and then drawing it. What are you buying? I think maybe Poet and Silver. Poet Oasis. I guess that's fulfilling a similar function. Okay, so we can gain a gold, draw it, and so you play one spice merchant, trashing the copper, and then you would have 4 money, no, 6 money, and then presumably trash the other spice merchant with the River Shrine. Or you could have played the River Shrine, trashing 2 spice merchants, and then you'd have 7 money to work with instead of 6. What are you doing here? Apparently not trashing the spice merchant. I don't really get that. Gold mine, crossroads, estate. I guess the extra gold mine makes sense if what you really need is plus buys. I don't love gold for the main payload. Doesn't play super nice with the poets. It's not terrible. Okay. Is Bobby DJ finishing off his coppers here? You could trash all 3 of them if you wanted to. Maybe that's the play. So you could have anywhere from 6 to 8 money. You want all 8. Maybe double poet and a silver. Maybe Bobby needs plus buy. I think double poet and a silver seems fine. And then taking a gold mine next turn. I don't think you're in urgent need of a 4th buy. Double silver and a poet. Okay, a little bit more aggressive on the payload, expecting to draw it all anyway. Derpa's got 7. It could just be a province in this kingdom. They do have plus buy here because they didn't spend any other actions, and with flourishing trade, your actions can't count as buys. Ugh. I'm thinking probably gold mine here for Bobby DJ. I'm not sure if plus buy is the next thing on the agenda, but it's probably coming up soon. Could just be another poet. Get them before they run out. Could be another poet and an estate. Double Oasis. I don't know that I believe in the Oasis very well. Like, Oasis in a deck that doesn't really want to discard stuff is functionally like a copper. And here, I guess in theory, you could draw your deck first and then discard the estates. But if you're playing the Oasis early on and pitching estates, then your Crossroads draw is getting nullified. All right, how many cards does derpa have down there? A few of them, okay. I expect probably playing this last Crossroads to draw the gold. That's worth more money than playing another Spice Merchant. Alright, I guess doing this way works as well. If you'd rather trash more coppers. Alright, Poet's super low. Estate and Crossroads are pretty low. And they're extra cheap. And buy is relatively plentiful. Alright, derpa takes 2 estates and a poet. So lowering piles a bit. Which I think probably makes sense. I don't think they're in range of a pile out, but they do have more plus buys. So they're probably closer to doing it than they are to having it done to them. The Crossroads and a silver, okay. So Bobby DJ would need, yeah, they sent 7 gains to win here, and that's a lot of gains. Flame's Gift, not the most significant boon at this point of the game. Working with, looks like it'll be 3 buys, counting the action, and 11. Hmm. Be thinking about Province here. Also, looks like you could use a little bit more payload. Could be Province double silver. Could be maybe just a duchy and then a gold mine or something. Bobby's up by 1 point, but 1 point isn't really safe here because the most likely pile out appears to be one that would gain 2 estates. So you really want to have more than a 2 points buffer if possible. This may be a turn early to think about that. I'm not sure how many gains derpa realistically has. Not really any with this draw. Probably don't even bother playing the Envoy just because it saps you from that 1 extra gain. What's the state? Okay. I don't know about that. Hmm. The trouble with the one estate is it lowers the piles, but still puts you in a position where Bobby DJ just buying the one estate would be enough to win. Do they have enough gains though? Probably not. Looking like not. All right, Dutch Oasis. That's just that's a lot of oases. Oh, oases. That's so many oases. Like a poet drawing an oasis is functionally a lot like a peddler, which is not bad. It's not amazing either. A poet drawing the silver is more like a tea house. Again, not game breaking, but it is twice as much money as a peddler is. All right, yeah, I don't see derpa getting enough gains for a win this turn, so you're probably still just looking to score a few points here and pass it on back. Oh, we played Envoy just to clear a bunch of stuff off the top. Looks like it was probably the right call if that was what was on top of the deck. Yeah, obviously don't want to leave that sitting there. Downside, of course, you have one less buy to work with, but that can be all right. I believe Bobby remains low on payload. Again, Oasis just doesn't seem like the most efficient. I think you're really shooting for maybe double province here, hoping the opponent misses, or if not, you probably got to do at least single and some duchies to keep a points lead. Otherwise, the Crossroads Poet pilot starts to look real dangerous, or just them taking provinces and already being ahead. All right, gained a gold mine. Already played one Oasis this turn, so this Oasis, or sorry, not Oasis, Crossroads. You already played one. Future ones are going to be terminal. 13. Annoyingly, one money short of double, to the extent that matters. You just buy a duchy here, probably, and then hope your opponent can't hit 5 buys. Alrighty, so Derpa's still ahead by 1 going into this turn. So be thinking about maximizing the number of buys and playing as few terminal actions as possible. Is this already win in hand? We still need more money, don't we? The pile out costs 7 money. But we currently have 6 buys, so yeah, that'll do it. That's a win. Uh-oh. Okay, we played another crossroads, but that's not the end of the world because we got gold mine to get the buys back. And ironically, playing Spice Merchant for plus buy actually isn't increasing your buys because it costs an action to do it, and the action's already worth buys. Yeah. Derpa sees this one. Not letting this one out of their sights. Okay, another win for Derpa going into the final game. So Bobby already can't clinch victory, but could hold it to a single point advantage if they win this last one. The final kingdom. Yeah, I don't like this one very much. The only village is Herald, and there's no thinning. So you are playing quite the roulette wheel here. But there are some powerful terminal actions, so you kind of got to play that game anyway. Seems like you want a bunch of heralds, probably one copy of Margrave and Highwayman, maybe two Highwaymen, and ideally like a pair of wharves, maybe some barges, and then Artist could also be a lot of draw if put into that deck. Trouble is, I mean, there's Peddler, which is a good card, and it's some amount of payload, but there's not a lot in the way of payload, which means you, on top of all your starting junk, have to add a bunch more treasures if you want this kingdom to go anywhere. Potion being chief among them. Alright, what'd they end up doing? Let's take a look. Double silver for both players. Yeah, I think that's probably the right call. The fives here are really significant. If you're feeling greedy, you could open Sage Silver, and then if your Sage skips a bunch of cards, draws into your silver, and gets you to 5, well, then you got the upside of hitting 5 while adding fewer treasures in the short term and also cycling your deck. But I think that's an unnecessary gamble. War for Margrave for first 5. I would say Margrave probably. Attack seems real annoying. It's not entirely clear. Wharf is plus buy on more turns, and plus buy is going to matter in pretty short order once the peddlers are costing 0. All right, taking early C charts over sages. I suspect sage is probably better here, at least for a while. The odds it skips over the junk that you can't trash seem a lot higher than the odds that C chart draws you an extra card. Once you have too many of any one of those piles, you might want to switch to the other ones for artist purposes, but there's, of course, no artists in the deck, and they're not anywhere near too many at this stage. Alright, Derpa has 3 buys, doesn't have 4 actions in play yet, but can still buy peddlers for 2 if they want them. Seems that they do. Another Herald. Okay, this ain't much of a turn. Peddler still costs 4, only got 2 money. Could have considered an artist there, possibly. Not sure about that. There's some risk in adding an artist, which is that if you're trapped in debt, even if you have 4 buys, you can't buy any peddlers, and so that'd be the biggest danger, I think, of adding an artist in the short term. You're really banking on hitting 6 the following turn, which I think is likely, but I assume not guaranteed. Peddler to try to boost Vineyard. Peddler for a lot of reasons. Peddler buffs your vineyards. It's also more actions that your heralds can hit. It's also the only action that gives money in this kingdom. So I sure would like to win that Peddler split if possible. The herald split also matters, and it looks like those are running fast as well. Yeah, the last herald is actually the best one. It's the one that always hits. Alright, Sea Chart and Herald Overpay. That all seems okay. Wow, a Sea Chart drew a card. Alright, now Bobby's got 3 buys. Surely at least one Peddler. And then probably another one of the $3. Actually, I'm not even sure. Maybe another Peddler is better than just buying another $3 cantrip. How about double Peddler Artist? That sounds pretty good. The trouble is, Herald is a very unruly card, and Herald is also a very central card to these decks. And Artist relies on you playing cards in a fairly precise order. So Artist might be a little bit worse, at least in the short term. Longer term, maybe you get a barge in play as well or something to create a pretty clear floor for how many cards that Artist can draw. Okay, pile's already getting kind of low. Actually, yeah, pretty low. Peddler has a tendency to run out. And then Sea Chart is only at 5. I've been thinking about Potion already. Kind of seriously. If not this turn, the next turn. Or like a single Sage. I'm not sure in which specific position. I think a Sage still would help your deck. But I think Sage is likely worse than Peddler while Peddler's around. So any case where you were going to buy a Sage, you'd probably just click Peddler instead. Alright, yeah, Potion makes a lot of sense to me. Again, at least 2 Peddlers. And Artist still looks pretty good. Obviously, with the 3+ Wharfs, Artist can be a little bit awkward because some turns you'll have 2 Wharves in play. Have to score. If you lower piles, you're at risk of a loss to a good turn. I don't actually know. Can Derpa's deck do 15 money and 6 buys? 7 buys, actually, because you have to take points. Highwayman over Artist seems fine to me. Okay, Derpa's got 3 buys left and 14. Probably also about time to start taking some potions. Derpa's next turn might be awkward. I'm not sure what's down there, but they didn't get a Wharf in play this turn. Yeah, Prophet's Potion Peddler seems okay. Okay. Yeah, step one, click some vineyards. And then I think you want that last peddler. And then could be a province. I think taking an action card here is probably safe. You've already got a point fleet, your opponent doesn't have that many buys. Alright, yeah, peddler for sure. And this last buy, I think it'd either be points or an action. It wouldn't surprise me too much either way. What they end up going with? They did go with the province. Okay. Alright, bit of a dud for Derpa. So this could be the ball game here with a good draw for Bobby, I think. That will not quite do it. I would strongly consider, yeah, a C chart and then a something. Double C chart's fine. Just something that lowers the piles a bit while advancing the score lead. Okay, Derpa's got a lot of buys here, but they only have the one potion. They have less to do with it. It's also their first vineyard, it looks like. Not enough points to pile and also take a points lead. So probably buy just one more province. Province and an estate. You really can't afford to be too aggressive with the victory cards, because once your deck loses a critical amount of actions, or critical density, I should say, your heralds are going to start whiffing, and then things really fall apart. Yeah, I think Vineyard looks significant, and Bobby's got a deck that takes him more efficiently. Also, you got this deck with extra buys, and Vineyard is a fairly buy-intensive card. And that'll be a win. Double C chart Vineyard. Okay, 3.5 to 2.5 at Derpa's favor. So overall extending their lead, although I think percentage-wise they'll both drop a little bit. That's the match.